Okay. I just want to scream from excitement just opening up, because literally what is going on? First of all, I'm splitting this deck. All right, this isn't... Okay. Does this have to be... Listen, I saw you in the astral. We've already hung out loads of times, so we're like this, right? This is just going to be a catch-up session, so excuse me, but don't excuse me. I'm not apologizing. There's something huge that's happening. I was just going through the Shaman's Dream Oracle message, and there were 2 cards that were in here that are from a Gateway of the Light activation deck. I'm going to share with you the astral messages that came through. But it's worth mentioning these messages. So serious star blessings is the first one, which is a yes, proceed, be seen, and push through. It's basically a wish that you set upon a star and then seeing that wish come true in the physical realm. But then you also have the Thoth energy, which is light codes and a great teacher awakening within. Now, the thing that was being shown in the astral realm was super, super interesting. It was very, very profound. I actually split it into loads of scenes. So I'm going to share with you my notes, and then we're going to do a reading around this. I feel like we're not really super prepared, but we're prepared enough. It's almost like this is how you're gonna feel essentially when it comes to your life experience. I'm seeing it's a form of enlightenment, so it's you seeing your life through the lens of the soul, through the lens of a light being, and then also collecting many things. You've been collecting many things. I'm hearing that's how you're going to know that this message is for you. All right, before we open up, I do want to pull just one Cosmos Oracle message, because I'm seeing this is how I'm hearing this is the defining moment for you. There's many things that have been weaving together and sewing seamlessly into the fabric of space-time, and these are relationships. It's going to be people, family, connections that you're observing from a higher level, a network be established. It feels like a network from above that's being formed below. And I'm seeing internally there is a knowing of these. I'm seeing neural networks that are connecting and creating these synapses or established bonds. I'm seeing also establishing new timelines, people being portals, opportunities being portals, opening up ecosystems filled with new experiences. And the word that's coming through is delectable for some reason, which is really interesting, and also delightful. But delectable talks about the taste, the senses, right? Something that's going to be sensory. Let's go ahead and use that keyword real quick. I know I'm just speaking fast, but I'm just very excited to have you here. Okay, so delectable. It's interesting because you use that for food when you're describing an experience. Delectable means very delicious, pleasing to eat. It could also mean something very delightful, okay, or enjoyable. So no wonder delightful came through. So yeah, something is delectable. That's super funny, right? So yeah, wow. Now the other message that came through, all right, first of all, you have joy of life here at the base when I picked up on my star child message. So again, this is a golden elixir, something that's going to sustain you along your life's journey. But the deeper I moved through the astral realm, the one thing to note is that it wasn't really about just individual experiences. It was more about the invisible connection between them. So it could be something that is subtly happening. I'm hearing future timelines that are being introduced to you now through mundane meetings, like the ordinary turning into the extraordinary moments. This is what it feels like. For some reason, I'm being called to... Oh, this is interesting. This hasn't happened to me in years. I've never heard split the deck. Maybe never, but it's been a long time. It's been like literally a couple years. And whenever this happened back in the day, I used to say, oh, something very specific wants to come through. So let's see. Okay. Attraction. What did I tell you? Right. And then you also have gravitational acceleration. Are you freaking kidding me? Okay, I'm not even trying to be. Okay, it's just so exciting. Right, hold on. Let me read this for you, because I'm not... I can feel it. I don't know if you can feel it. I can feel it. And then you have 528 hertz here at the base, which is a love frequency. So this level of coherence, right, head and heart coherence, creates this very powerful vortice, a very powerful... I'm hearing celestial current. All right, it's an invisible current that you jump into, and it flows your way into another realm. Not that you're going anywhere external, but it's like you're in this world, but you're experiencing another version of it, right? Another dimensional layer of this reality. You're tuning into higher bandwidths of frequency light. You're seeing things that you hadn't seen before that were always existing in your field, especially when it comes to, I'm hearing dormant potential, dormant abilities. I'm hearing it remains dormant until you become aware of it. So there's something that you're becoming aware of when it comes to the potential within you. That could be the great teacher awakening. I know some of you say I talk fast, but you should hear how quickly the information's coming through, and then try to translate that into human language. It's like, Again, I said said it and I'll say it again. We should just use telepathy at this point. So let's go and take a look at attraction. It feels like the red threads of fate, right? Which is the Chinese proverb for people and things that are supposed to come into world line collisions. So being at the same time and space, the same space and time for these events to transpire, right? Okay. I'm seeing a transpiring web of realities. Okay, so attraction. This is it. Okay, so something coming to you with very, very great force, and also you moving towards something with that desire. Attraction is a force which makes an object, person, situation, or pattern, etc., move towards another, vice versa. The magnetism it creates is so large that energy bodies attract each other continuously to find themselves face to face. And again, you are the one consciousness meeting itself over and over again if we view this from the law of one perspective. So you are the opportunity that you seek, you are everything which you seek. It means that energy units emitted will send back a similar wave of energy to the one being released. So for example, you could be creating something, it could be a tangible project, infusing so much love, and it was being infused with the essence of your soul. Okay, I'm hearing it's an extension, because whatever it is that we create in this realm, we are quantumly entangled with. And I'm just seeing you're a force of creation, something that may be flowing through you. Even the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis create the life in which you will live. And I'm hearing the story that will unfold that day. So I'm seeing it as creation itself through the most, again, mundane things and decisions that you make. Anyway, then you have gravitational acceleration. I'm just going to read this for those that are not acquainted with the cards real quick, and then we're going to dive into it, because I have a whole... I've been decoding this for a couple weeks, which is why I'm like super excited to bring this forth. And then the fact that it came up in the astral, we have a lot to discuss, okay? We have a lot to discuss. Gravitational acceleration is clear direction and force of action. The available energy flow gains momentum, strength, and determination. It's clear direction and a force of action. So again, it's increasing speed. So it's something accelerating, right? Something that you call in leads to rapid acceleration along your life path, essentially, right? It reminds you of kind of a Mars energy, which speeds up the process. It creates a lot of momentum, especially when we talk about Mars being life force. So I'm seeing it as a lot of, again, energy that's just being channeled into... It could be a project, the fact that we opened up with Sirius Star Blessings energy, all right, but it's something that is in alignment with cosmic origins or intentions that you had. So it feels like when I say predestined moments, I'm just talking about things that are encoded into the field already that you'll then see assemble or translate into your physical existence, right? It's like you taking action towards something existing in potential is the very force that anchors it into the physical realm. It's the very thing that allows it to collapse through space-time and become part of your tangible experience, right? So anyway, the message that came through was the roles that people could be unconsciously playing, whether that's within your family unit, your friendship group, or maybe a partnership, or within a larger community or collective scale. It felt as though I was being shown this scene from a higher perspective of how a single wound could actually travel through an entire bloodline. So part of this is you actually transforming. We'll probably talk about this in another relationship, but you're transforming the energetic signature of your bloodline, right? You are becoming vastly different to those who have come before. And so they're experiencing a level of liberation through the way that you move through this existence in a way that they never felt safe to do. Okay, so a lot of this is about being able to create safety within the body, within the vehicle, within your vessel, for the soul to feel safe enough to play again. And I'm seeing that as being highly conducive, like you becoming a highly conducive container and also a magnetic point of attraction, because you're a bioelectrical being. So you essentially are this battery pack that is anchoring in this charge into the grid, into the planet Earth. So it's understanding, I'm hearing the energy that you're infusing also the lineage with. And I'm hearing also, interesting enough, what's been fused into you, and you're creating this new fusion or new blend where you're able to bring forth a lot of these gifts and abilities that have lain dormant. Okay, there's something around the activation of dormant abilities. Okay, so another thing I was being shown was how unresolved emotions can create generations of similar experiences, and how the moment that one fractal of awareness incarnating into the bloodline, right? So you were called forth by your ancestral lineages, and they said, hey, you need to carry the things that I could not, and your mission is to finally put down what we were never able to. This is something that you are accomplishing successfully. I'm seeing quest, the word quest is coming through, and also just, you know, success. So there's something that you're successfully achieving or accomplishing, and that's what I was being shown throughout this entire network of experiences. The network changes as you input a new program, as you deprogram a lot that you had actually adopted, and things that had influenced you. I'm hearing the conditioning of the world that had influenced you. You're returning to who you were before the world observed you into form, or who you were returning to who you are and your fluid childlike essence before your conditioning. This is the truth that I'm hearing. This is the truth for where freedom lies and how liberation is being experienced through you, right? So what happens when you decide to no longer participate within the same unconscious cycles? Well, there is a dramatic shift that happens, not just for yourself, but also for all those who have come before you and for all those who will come after. And I'm hearing the many lives of those that you touch and silently inspire. Okay, there's something around silently inspiring, and also secret admiring that's taking place, right? Secret admiring. What I'm also seeing is that there's something that you're looking back at in your life experience where entire realities had essentially created subconscious contract or agreements to actually play out a lot of these life experiences that nobody even knew that they were participating in. But there's something that you can look back at from a higher level of resolution and see from above what happened so below, right? As within, so without. And there's something that you're seeing that you couldn't see before. All right, that's what it is. I'm just seeing everything's clicking, everything's making sense. But what fascinated me the most is that in this astral scene, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into it, I might throw in some illustrations to kind of show you the scenes that I was seeing, was that one person had come into this scene or into this network or this ecosystem, and they had basically shaken everything up because they decided to no longer unconsciously feed the same repetition, right? The same expectations that those had around them were no longer being reinforced through you. Okay, so I'm seeing as even from past lives, most resonant parallel lives, the expectations of the energetic signature that you have then transferred into this new body, this new carbon-based life form, the lessons are being played out and bleeding into this lifetime. And so of course they've always expected you to be this way because that's who they've known you to be, because you are your ancestral lineage, right? It's this one body of consciousness. You were composed of the cells of your ancestors. So there's something to do with that. I'm just seeing a recalibration. I hope this makes sense. I know a lot of the time I'm like, oh, I don't know if it makes sense when I'm saying it out loud, but so many of you are picking up what I'm putting down, so I trust that's going to come through however it needs to. But yeah, there's that essence that's coming through where you're rewriting that program or that expectation. And so it's breaking down a nucleus of a family where a new one is being established. And we're going to get into that, but it's the moment where the person changes. And not only the person changes, right? Not only you have changed, but the entire network is also shifting and corresponding to your evolution. Right, let me go ahead and share with you the first astral scene. I'll probably throw up an illustration to describe it, and I'm going to go ahead and read my notes because I don't remember everything that happened. It was from a few nights ago. I've been sitting on this. The first scene was in a river. Okay, that was the environment. And I wrote that some things are no longer in alignment with your soul. And there's new choices that you're making to align with your morals and also your integrity. And certain boundaries needed to be set in order to actually honor that. And after you no longer follow through with what people had expected from you and no longer reinforce these old ways of being, you evolved into a new version of self. So the first thing that I saw was being seated above and observing this river. And on this river, as I looked down, there were many people below. Some were swimming across the river, some were standing at the banks, and some were just, you know, on the side waving. And what fascinated me the most is that everyone was moving in different directions. Some appeared to be crossing, some appeared to be staying where they were, some seemed to be trying to call others back. And so I shortly realized that this scene was all about a point of divergence that's taking place, and I'm hearing occurring as a specific word in your life, where there are moments that we begin to evolve into different alternate worldviews, where we evolve into different values. We also have different, moral frameworks and different ways that we relate to ourselves and our life experiences, and also those around us and the life experiences that they also go through. And what happens when we no longer participate within the same exchanges that we did because we no longer see them the same? And it's not from a lens of judgment, it's just knowing that not anything is right or wrong. It's because there's just something that's no longer in resonance. I kind of zoomed into the scene, and as I observed the people below, it felt as though some expected others to continue playing the role that they had always played and to continue reinforcing the same patterns, the same conversations and fears and emotional exchanges. And I began thinking about neurons in that moment, because when we learn something new pathways begin to form within the brain. The more a thought is repeated, the more an emotion is repeated, and the more behavior is repeated, the stronger the pathway gets. It creates this very strong established bioelectrical charge that you can think about as a network or a pattern. Even like a pattern of experiences as well. And what I realized is that it's not creating patterns just within ourselves, but they extend into our relationship. So these patterns internally are then projected holographically into the world around us, where again, we have these subconscious agreements that we then unconsciously agree to play out these experiences. And it's important because again, we create this foundation of understanding or learning that we're then able to gently reflect on and extract the wisdom that hides within the experience itself. And this could play out within our families, our communities, and just the people that we remain in resonance with. It was literally a movement from one energetic reality into a new energetic reality, and not everybody was making that crossing. So that's the first scene that was coming through. We even have a siren as well that's going by. So again, it could be a calling. It could be a calling that you have to go through that river of change and you have to cross that river of change. The second scene I call the matrix contracts. And what I was being shown was a soul who wanted to learn lessons, even just subconsciously, because it would create this foundation of understanding or experience for it to understand later. The lens of suffering, the lens of pain, the lens of separation, and then they would later transcend that suffering by being able to see the energetic exchange that was happening beneath it all along, and also again the lessons awaiting integration to embody and integrate all it is that you had learned. So this is something that you're moving through fluidly right now. How can you take your life experiences and come out not defined by them, but actually more refined from them, right? I'm hearing go through a refinement period to ascend into a higher octave, seeing the same circumstance, not because it's changed, but because the lens and how you're viewing the circumstance is from a higher resolution. So you can see things that you couldn't see previously. And so there was an understanding in this scene of two different ways that a soul can gather wisdom in their life experience. And that can be through pressure or themes of separation, again, or survival and suffering, like placing a child in deep water and then allowing its survival instincts for it to activate and learn how to swim through that fear, through that struggle, or that pain. But also beside that option, you also had learning through play, learning through curiosity or exploration within this direct experience, and remembering how strange it would be that both were capable at arriving at the same result, which would be wisdom. Yet one required much more suffering. And so I kept hearing that you can gain the wisdom in your life experience, but without the lens of suffering. And that's something that I feel like many of us are coming back to that realization around, because when I was showing this stick that represented like a matrix contract, and the moment that this stick broke, it actually ended up dissolving an entire network that was attached to that stick. So it was like this interconnected web, or this reality or ecosystem of experiences where a wound would be held somewhere in the body, right, within like a chakra system. And as it broke, every connection that had simulated into your life experience that had been created through the wound that was in resonance began breaking away too, because you fell out of resonance with those people and those experiences and the lessons, the patterns, and those versions of reality was something that you evolved beyond. So it felt like literally watching your entire timeline just reorganize itself. It was literally like watching a wound close or a portal close that it once attracted in people and experiences that were in resonance with that wound, and the lessons that would unfold in order to actually reveal to you what the lineage held, right? That was being not just shown to you through a textbook, but it was being shown to you through the very reality that you were previously seated in. So that's what it is. And I'm hearing once you become a parent of that wound and what's going around with you, around you in the present day, then you can interpret it, and it's like it begins dissolving in front of you. It's like you are able to transcend the very experience that you're immersed in because you're not fighting it. Instead, you are becoming buoyant and you're allowing yourself to float within your very current life experience. You can fully accept it and be like, all right, that is actually the pattern. Scene 3 was a pretty short scene, and it was all to do with crystal shops, speaking about astrology, and I'm seeing it as the way in which your soul was thread, the way or accumulation in how your soul manifests into form. And they were speaking about the nucleus of a family, which was being directly deposited into a location within this planet Earth that would allow you to have, play out ancestral agreements with the lay of the land, the environment, the people around you, the conditioning that would create a life experience to support the growth that transpires in etheric planes from what it is that you've moved through in the physical, right? There's something that you've been able to move through and move beyond is what I'm seeing. There's something that you've been able to transcend. Anyway, there was themes around insecurity and comparison, and I saw it as the heart chakra, which is about clearing programs of unworthiness, also fear of connection. This is fear of coherence and fear of even giving and receiving in this existence. So there's something around you being able to give and receive, where shame and regret and also guilt help us kind of course correct, simply because it shows where we've been hiding from the world. And there's something around ancestral themes of hiding ourselves, again, seeing that shame as a result of internalized anger, and that anger being fear in disguise of where we have been fearful, where we have been made to feel ashamed. And the fact that it was all to do with, crystals and, like a divination kind of store, it definitely feels it's a theme to do with the reconnection of the divine feminine. So there's something around the reconnection of the divine feminine. I don't know if someone needs to hear that. The next scene was a woman practicing qigong, and as she was making these slow but intentional and gentle movements where she was moving according to her soul's essence, these people began observing her. And it's a remembrance that qigong is not something that you learn, it's something that you experience directly. Because the intelligence that you're looking for is already present within you. The energy is already moving, your body already knows how to move through this system, and life already knows how to breathe itself through you. And so the message was that many people spend their entire lives searching for something externally that already exists within their internal realms, where we seek for permission, we seek for validation, we seek for acceptance, we seek to be witnessed in some way, when we can become our own witness to how we move through life according to our integrity. This is about not outsourcing your sense of connection, right? You don't need to search for someone to tell you that you're connected when you can connect to yourself at any time through the source within. It's a moment that we are still enough to actually listen and realize that there's a greater intelligence that has been living within us all along, or we have been that higher intelligence that already knows how to navigate through this system. Often we're just clearing away, right, the stagnation, right, doing a little bit of dusting the cobwebs of anything that's kind of been distorting the way that we see ourselves and our own potential in this existence, right? Again, returning to who you were before the roles, before the ancestral programs, before the conditioning of the world. And perhaps that's why so many ancient traditions would actually illuminate these pathways available to us, because they're ultimately pointing to the same thing, which is that it's not something that we become, right? Divinity is not something that we become, but it's something that we remember ourselves to be. Again, the really important thing to understand is that it's not that anyone is bad or anyone is ever trying to stop you from doing these things, but instead it's again all about how you've been holding space and really how your energetic signature psychologically, emotionally, physiologically has held space in such a way where these dynamics have been set up this way. And sometimes it's been reoccurring through many lifetimes. And so you've set yourself up energetically within these systems, and all you're doing is holding your space, holding your energy differently, right? You're evolving. And so when that happens, you begin to mirror a different example instead of mirroring that wound within that nucleus. Again, people intuitively, even subconsciously, they expect the same response from you. And so when you take the time to pause before you act, instead of just unconsciously react to a circumstance where you're not going to have the same emotional or verbal or physical response because you're not triggered in the same way that you used to be, because again, you've been able to heal those internal wounds. They may say, what's wrong? Or why aren't you reacting? Or why have you gone quiet? That initial disruption is actually an act of love because you're no longer reinforcing, again, the same expectations that people have had of you when it comes to the old version that would play out the dynamics this specific way, with the old reaction, the old behavior, the old like emotional energetic exchange. And instead, what's fascinating and actually it's can get quite not entertaining, but it can get quite interesting to like observe and kind of get curious and explore how when you embody these different ways of being, how disorientating it can be for those around you to kind of adjust to, oh, like you've just created an anomaly within the system. You've just done something that you haven't done before, because it's like changing the choreography of a dance that has been playing out for years, right? People have been always performing it this way and nobody is consciously even thinking about the steps anymore. This is very imperative to understand simply because you modeling this example also unconsciously gives permission for others to do the same, where it's going to smooth this curve or this transition that's happening with humanity, where you forge that path that those around you didn't even think were possible. And so I see it as you creating disruptions within the system that force this point of reference. I'm hearing a shift of perspective, and those who are very, very disconnected with themselves are going to essentially be shocked when these changes take place, because it feels like they're going to lose their footing in many ways, where the vision or version of you that they thought you were or that they thought themselves to be will be disrupted. And so that can cause a lot of shock to the system, quite tremendously, where again, it can create a level of disorientation within the human. And there is a need for reconnection in that moment. And there's a need for healing and integration in that moment that's going to be necessary. And so that sometimes just takes time, okay? So there's something around holding space for yourself in a way that someone is learning to also do for themselves. How can they hold space for you when they have not yet been able to cultivate that within? The most important thing to know, especially because I'm seeing the solar plexus be a huge topic of discussion, at least with my guides throughout this last couple of days, is that external judgment is not going to be the issue. Instead, it's going to be internal judgment. So that's going to bring disharmony to your internal container. You can think about it like that, because you can't control what happens out here, but you can control what happens within your own immediate field, and again, how you're holding your space. And so as long as you're in harmony within yourself, you will always find harmony within the world around you. You will not feel disharmony in here, okay, or out here, unless you fit it in here, right? It's as within, so without, not as without, so within. The external should not govern your internal state. If you're really in harmony with yourself and sorted with yourself, nothing externally should be able to disrupt your very state of being. So if we can observe judgment that can happen within another being from that refined lens of discernment, then we can recognize it and hold space for it and say, okay, that judgment is not mine to take on. The thing is, every time you interrupt that internal self-judgment, you actually create a new pathway or opportunity to love an aspect of yourself that you would have previously rejected. And so there's a need for many of us as sovereign beings to hold space for ourselves along our life journey in a way that, people are still learning, and many humans are still learning how to hold space for themselves along theirs. And so with this attraction and gravitational force, I see this as you attracting in a whole bunch of people into your experience, and again, also opportunities, because you're literally paving this new path. And that is going to be the embodiment of the new human. It literally is going to be the ability to alchemize your trauma. And again, not disconnect from yourself when we notice that those around may be disconnecting from themselves during this time, or disconnecting from an old version of you. Instead, it's being reconnected with yourself. Now is the time to be deeply connected with yourself, so rooted in who you are that nobody's absence or presence will disrupt your very way of being, because it can feel alone, and many of us do feel this on our own sovereign journeys, to not mirror the wounds back of others, because we are now essentially not isolating ourselves, but it can feel like that because we are now withdrawing from old unconscious patterns of behaviors, where we can be in a liminal space between worlds because we're not fully in the old, right? We're not giving into the same systems or the same dynamics. We're breaking free from them while also simultaneously establishing new bonds, but they can be established in the invisible etheric realms before that actually translates into a physical, tangible experience. So for example, that could be the breaking away from blood family into like star family, right? It could be the breaking away from certain friendship groups or communities that you want a part of, and then kind of having that evolve. But there's something that's going on there where I'm seeing like the fluidity. So the courage for you to mirror that love and that self-love is it's very admirable. You are the one that's going to be responsible in your community, especially if you do have this level of wisdom and awareness to actually model that different behavior, to model that different example and what that looks like, and understand that you can tune into infinite possibilities to continue life without suffering. You can step into more of a harmonious way of moving through the system and understanding yourself so deeply to the point where you don't need to see to be understood, and also understanding those around you in a way that they are yet to understand themselves, because in the end, people can only understand you as far as they've met themselves. The last scene I saw was a healer in the group, and he offered services in like the spiritual community, and the first message that came through was that you had a message from 2 spirit guides. Now what's interesting is that I'm circling back around to this, and these 2 messages that came through, I completely forgot about this. I feel like this is the 2 messages from the guides, and then you also had 2 messages that came out here too, so this is just going to be confirmation for you. Anyway, this is it feels like an entire new network is becoming available to you, and this is like it's a big fat yes to keep doing what it is that you're doing. There could be a wish coming true in the way that you move through the system, and also a higher octave of relationships, opportunities, and circumstances and experiences that are awaiting this signature or frequency that you're able to anchor aligns you with these realities. So there's something around embodying it and moving through the world, embodying what it is that you would like to see, and then being able to see more of this in the world. All right, there's something like this. So I'm gonna love an Evie right there. I'm gonna go and I'm here and get this sent to you ASAP. So it's interesting because it's what I usually say in personal readings, which is, so it may feel like an almost personal reading for sure, but I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to trust that this is going to reach whoever it needs to reach. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, do consider subscribing, because we'd love to have you around. Personal reading details are also down below. And until next time, bye. Oh, also check out Water Spirit if you're looking for some high quality AAE grade jewelry. You have 2 discount codes for that in the description box as well. And until next time, bye.